Welcome back to the channel Valuable Coins HD, coin enthusiasts and collectors alike. If you've been following along with us, you know how exciting it can be to discover a coin that's worth far more than its face value. But today, we're about to introduce you to a coin that has the potential to truly surprise you. We're diving into the Washington quarter dollar from 1983. Now, you might be thinking, a quarter from 1983? What makes that so special? Well, let me tell you, this coin is far more valuable than you may ever have imagined, and we're about to explain why. The Washington quarter has been a staple in American coinage since it was first introduced in 1932 to honor the first President of the United States, George Washington. Over the decades, the coin has seen numerous designs and variations, but it's the 1983 Washington quarter that has caught the eye of collectors, and not just for its design, but for its rarity and errors that make it one of the more valuable quarters in circulation. So, what makes the 1983 Washington quarter so noteworthy? While the coin itself was minted in large quantities that year, the key to its value lies in its condition and the rare errors that can make it stand out from the crowd. Most quarters from this year are fairly common and hold little value beyond their face value of 25 cents. However, there are some major factors that can make a 1983 Washington quarter worth much more than just pocket change. First, let's talk about the rarity. Like most coins from this period, the 1983 Washington quarter was minted in massive quantities. Over 600 million of them were produced that year. With so many coins minted, finding one that has survived in pristine, uncirculated condition is incredibly rare. Most of these coins were heavily circulated, used for daily transactions, and became worn over time. As a result, the value of a typical 1983 Washington quarter is very modest, but here's where it gets interesting. Coins that are uncirculated, meaning they haven't been used in regular circulation, are much rarer. If you're lucky enough to come across an uncirculated 1983 Washington quarter, especially one that's been carefully stored away in perfect condition, you've already got a coin that's worth more than you might think. But that's not all. For the seasoned coin collectors out there, what makes the 1983 Washington quarter truly exciting are the minting errors. Minting errors are rare mistakes that happen during the coin production process. These errors can include things like double strikes, off-center strikes, or improperly aligned dies. And trust me, these errors are what turn an average coin into a valuable one, especially when it comes to the 1983 Washington quarter. One of the most sought-after errors in the 1983 Washington quarter is the double die obverse error. This happens when the design is struck more than once, causing certain details, like the words "Liberty" or "In God We Trust," to appear doubled or blurry. If you come across a 1983 quarter with noticeable doubling on the obverse side, this could be a game-changer in terms of value. A double die error is rare, and for coin collectors, it's one of the most exciting types of minting mistakes to find. Another possible error to look for is the off-center strike. This occurs when the coin is struck improperly during the minting process, causing the design to shift and resulting in part of the coin's image being cut off. Off-center strikes are fascinating to collectors because they make each coin unique. No two off-center coins are exactly alike. The more off-center the strike, the more valuable the coin becomes. So, if you happen to find a 1983 Washington quarter with an off-center design, you could be holding a rare and highly prized piece in your hands. Now, you might be wondering, how much could a 1983 Washington quarter be worth, especially one with these minting errors? Well, the value can vary greatly depending on the specific error, condition, and rarity of the coin. But here's the big reveal: if you come across a 1983 Washington quarter in uncirculated condition, with a significant minting error, you could be looking at a value of $71,500. That's right, you could be holding a quarter worth $71,500. This is a staggering amount of money for a coin that many people would overlook in their daily change. But for collectors, especially those who specialize in error coins, the 1983 Washington quarter is a true hidden gem. The combination of rarity, pristine condition, and minting errors makes this coin highly desirable and valuable. So, what should you do next? Start searching through your coin collection, your spare change, or maybe even hit up a local coin shop to see if you can find one of these rare quarters. Remember, the key to finding valuable coins is patience, careful inspection, and knowing what to look for. And who knows, that 1983 Washington quarter you find might just be worth more than you ever expected. Today, we're about to dive into the world of a coin that's not only rich in history, but also packed with potential value. Yes, you guessed it, today's focus is on the 1972 Washington quarter dollar. Now, you might be thinking, a quarter from the early 70s? What makes that so special? Well, let me tell you, this coin has a story, a rarity, and even some surprising minting errors that could make it worth way more than you ever expected. The Washington quarter has been a part of American coinage since 1932, and it's widely recognized for featuring the portrait of George Washington, the first president of the United States. On the reverse side, you'll find the familiar eagle and olive branch, symbols of freedom and peace. But while the design itself hasn't changed much over the years, it's the conditions, the years of minting, and the potential errors in the production process that make certain coins stand out from the rest. The 1972 Washington quarter is a perfect example of this. Although it was produced in large quantities that year, what sets it apart from the ordinary is the potential for unique errors and the possibility of finding it in exceptional condition. So, why is the 1972 Washington quarter so valuable? Let's take a deeper look. For starters, the 1972 Washington quarter was minted during a time of economic stability in the U.S., right after the country emerged from the turbulence of the 1960s and early 70s. Over 500 million of these coins were produced that year, which means that the majority of them were widely circulated. This circulation led to a lot of wear and tear, and finding one of these coins in pristine, uncirculated condition has become quite a rarity. As you may know, coins that remain in mint condition, with sharp details and no signs of usage, are highly prized by collectors, but that's not all. The real excitement about the 1972 Washington quarter comes when you start looking into minting errors, those rare mistakes that can turn an ordinary coin into a small treasure. Minting errors occur when something goes wrong during the coin's production, and these mistakes often result in coins that are one of a kind. Collectors love these errors because they make the coin unique and increase its value dramatically. One of the most famous errors associated with the 1972 Washington quarter is the double die error. This is where the coin's design is struck more than once, causing certain features, like the lettering or parts of the image, to appear doubled. In the case of the 1972 Washington quarter, the most common place you'll see this doubling is in the word Liberty or in the date 1972. This doubled effect can range from a subtle shift to a more pronounced, dramatic doubling, and the more obvious the error, the higher the value. Imagine holding a coin with a design that looks a little different from the rest. It's these kinds of details that really get collectors excited. Another key error to look out for in the 1972 Washington quarter is the off-center strike. An off-center coin happens when the metal blank used to make the coin isn't properly aligned during the striking process. As a result, the coin is stamped incorrectly, and parts of the design are either missing or shifted to one side. This creates a coin that's not quite whole, and these off-center errors are highly sought after by collectors. The more off-center the strike, the more valuable the coin becomes, especially if it's noticeable and distinct, but it doesn't stop there. Another error you should keep an eye out for is the clipped planchet. This happens when the metal disc used to create the coin is improperly cut before it's struck, resulting in a coin with a piece missing from its edge. These clipped planchet errors are rare and visually interesting because they make the coin look unusual and imperfect, but it's exactly this imperfection that can make the coin worth thousands of dollars. So, how much could a 1972 Washington quarter be worth, especially one with a minting error? Well, it all depends on the condition of the coin and the type of error it features. A typical 1972 Washington quarter in average condition is worth only its face value, just 25 cents. However, if you happen to find a 1972 Washington quarter that's in mint condition, free from any major wear and tear, or, better yet, if it has a noticeable error such as a double die or off-center strike, you could be looking at a much higher value. Are you ready for the big reveal? If you find a 1972 Washington quarter with a minting error, especially in uncirculated condition, it could be worth as much as $73,000. Yes, you heard that right, $73,000 for a single quarter. This incredible price is reserved for the rarest of the rare. It's these kinds of coins that coin collectors dream of finding, and if you happen to come across one, you'll be holding a piece of history that could set you up for a small fortune. Now, what's the takeaway here? If you've got a 1972 Washington quarter in your collection or in your spare change, don't just dismiss it as just another quarter. Take a closer look. Check for any signs of minting errors, especially double die or off-center strikes. If you're unsure about the coin's value, consider getting it professionally appraised. You never know, that quarter could be worth far more than you ever expected. Today we've got something truly special to talk about, a coin that could be hiding in your collection or in your change jar, just waiting for you to notice its true worth. If you love coins with rich history and potential value, then this is the video for you. We're diving into the 1979 Washington quarter dollar, a coin that might seem ordinary at first glance, but trust me, there's much more to it than meets the eye. Let's start with the basics. The Washington quarter dollar has been part of the American coinage system since 1932, and it has consistently carried the image of George Washington, the first president of the United States, on the obverse. Over the years, the reverse side of the coin has gone through various design changes, but the Washington quarter remains one of the most recognizable and widely circulated coins in the U.S. The 1979 Washington quarter, in particular, is one of those coins that has managed to pique the interest of coin collectors due to its rarity and some unique features. In fact, despite being produced in large numbers, the 1979 Washington quarter holds the potential to be worth a small fortune, depending on its condition and whether it features any rare minting errors. So, what makes the 1979 Washington quarter stand out among the thousands of other coins minted that year? For starters, let's talk about its condition. The 1979 Washington quarter was minted in significant quantities, with hundreds of millions produced. These quarters were used in everyday transactions, meaning most of them are in worn and circulated condition today. While this might sound like bad news for collectors, it actually creates an opportunity for those who are fortunate enough to find a minted or uncirculated coin. Coins that have been kept in pristine condition are much rarer and can fetch a much higher price, but it's not just the coin's condition that makes it valuable. What really gets coin collectors excited are the potential minting errors found in certain 1979 Washington quarters. These errors occur when something goes wrong during the production process, and they can result in some seriously rare coins. Whether it's a double die, an off-center strike, or a die crack, these errors can increase the value of a coin exponentially. The 1979 Washington quarter is known for a few key errors that collectors are constantly on the lookout for. The first is the double die error. This occurs when the coin's design is struck multiple times during the minting process, resulting in a doubling effect on the lettering or imagery. If you look closely at the 1979 Washington quarter, you may notice that the word "Liberty" or "In God We Trust" appears to be slightly doubled. The more pronounced the doubling, the more valuable the coin becomes. For collectors, finding a 1979 Washington quarter with a noticeable double die error is like finding a hidden treasure, and that's what drives up the price. Another significant error to look for is the off-center strike. This happens when the metal disc used to make the coin is not properly aligned during the minting process, causing part of the design to shift or even be cut off. If you happen to come across a 1979 Washington quarter with an off-center strike, you could be holding onto something incredibly rare. The further off-center the coin is, the more valuable it becomes, and these types of coins are especially sought after by collectors who specialize in minting errors. Of course, there's also the possibility of a die crack, a visible crack in the die that strikes the coin. This crack leaves a raised line or break on the surface of the coin, making it unique. A die crack is considered a form of minting error that can add to the coin's value if it's located in a noticeable part of the design, such as near Washington's portrait or across the lettering. These cracks are rare and give the coin a one-of-a-kind look, making them highly collectible. Now, let's get to the big question: how much could a 1979 Washington quarter actually be worth? As you might expect, the value depends on factors like the coin's condition, the presence of minting errors, and overall rarity. A regular 1979 Washington quarter in circulated condition will likely only be worth its face value, 25 cents. However, if you've got one that is uncirculated or has one of the sought-after minting errors, the value could increase dramatically. So, what's the grand reveal? A 1979 Washington quarter that is in mint condition or has a significant minting error, such as a double die or off-center strike, could be worth as much as $73,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $73,000 for a single quarter. Now, that's what I call a treasure hidden in plain sight. That if you find a 1979 Washington quarter with one of these errors or in pristine condition, you may want to get it appraised by a professional coin expert to ensure you're getting the true value of this rare find. It's a reminder that even coins we consider to be common can sometimes be more valuable than we ever imagined. Before we wrap things up, here's one last piece of advice for all you collectors out there: always keep an eye on the small details. Whether it's a double die, an off-center strike, or any other minting error, these tiny imperfections can turn an ordinary coin into a treasure. So, keep checking your change, dig through those old coin jars, and never stop looking for that next big find. Today, we've got an incredibly interesting and valuable coin to discuss, one that could very well be hiding in your collection right now, or perhaps buried in your loose change jar. It's the 1981 Washington quarter dollar. Now, you might think, 1981? That's not too far back, is it? But let me tell you, this seemingly ordinary coin has the potential to surprise you in ways you wouldn't expect. Whether you're an experienced collector or just getting started, this video is packed with the kind of information that could change the way you look at your coins forever. The Washington quarter, first minted in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, has long been a staple of American coinage. Featuring a striking portrait of Washington on the obverse and a majestic eagle on the reverse, it's a coin that has been in circulation for nearly a century. But here's the catch: even though the design has stayed the same over the years, certain years have produced quarters that are far rarer and more valuable than others. And one of those years is 1981. Why does the 1981 Washington quarter stand out among the others? To start, this coin was part of a specific era in American history. The early 80s were a time of economic transition, and coins from this period carry a unique historical significance. The production of coins in the early 80s was massive, with millions of quarters being minted for everyday transactions. But, as with any mass production, not all coins were created equally. In fact, only a small fraction of these quarters were struck in pristine condition, making them incredibly sought after by collectors today. But here's where things get really interesting: errors. This is where the magic happens, and where a coin like the 1981 Washington quarter can go from being worth just 25 cents to thousands of dollars. Minting errors are an essential aspect of the coin collecting world because they're what sets certain coins apart from the rest. And in the case of the 1981 Washington quarter, a few unique errors have been known to occur, turning some of these coins into valuable treasures. One of the most notable errors found in the 1981 Washington quarter is the double die error. Now, you might be wondering what exactly this means. Essentially, a double die occurs when the coin's design is struck more than once, leading to a noticeable duplication of certain features on the coin. In the case of the 1981 quarter, the error typically appears on the lettering, especially in words like "Liberty" or "In God We Trust." In these cases, the letters seem to have a shadow or a ghostly second version of themselves next to the original. The more pronounced the doubling effect, the rarer and more valuable the coin becomes. Collectors pay top dollar for these double die errors, and if you're lucky enough to find one, you could be holding on to a small fortune. Another important error that can make a 1981 Washington quarter more valuable is an off-center strike. This occurs when the coin doesn't line up properly during the minting process, resulting in part of the design being cut off, or shifted to one side. The off-center strike creates a distinctive look that's highly prized among collectors, and the further off-center the design is, the more valuable the coin becomes. Finding a 1981 Washington quarter with an off-center strike, especially if it's a significant shift, could mean a substantial increase in its value. Additionally, die cracks are another form of minting error that collectors actively search for. A die crack occurs when a crack forms in the die used to strike the coin. This crack can leave a raised line or a broken piece on the surface of the coin, often near the design. While these die cracks aren't as common as double die errors, they still add a layer of rarity and uniqueness to the coin, making it more desirable to collectors. Some die cracks even form interesting shapes or patterns, which can further increase a coin's worth. So, what's the big takeaway here? If you've got a 1981 Washington quarter, it could very well be worth much more than just 25 cents, especially if it's in great condition or has one of these rare minting errors. While most 1981 quarters are likely in average condition and wouldn't command more than face value, the ones with minting mistakes are the true gems. And here's the real kicker: if you find a 1981 Washington quarter with a noticeable minting error, like a double die or off-center strike, it could be worth a staggering $66,000, yes, you heard that right, $66,000 for a single 1981 Washington quarter. This is not a typo. The value of coins like these skyrockets because of their rarity and unique characteristics. So, take a moment to dig through your coin collection or your loose change. Who knows, that coin you've overlooked could turn out to be a priceless treasure. Before we wrap up, let me remind you, the key to finding valuable coins is paying attention to the details. Whether it's a double die, off-center strike, or even a subtle die crack, these minting errors are the secret to unlocking a coin's hidden value. If you find something that seems a bit off, don't dismiss it, investigate it further, and you might just uncover a rare find that could make you a fortune. Today, we have an extraordinary coin to talk about, the 1982 Washington quarter dollar. At first glance, you might think it's just another common coin that's been circulating for decades, but trust me, there's much more to this particular year's coin than you might expect. The Washington quarter, which has been part of the U.S. Mint's coinage since 1932, is a beloved piece of American history. It's always carried the timeless portrait of George Washington on the obverse, and on the reverse, the iconic eagle has represented the strength and pride of the United States. It's a coin that, for many of us, has been a staple in our pocket change, but what makes the 1982 Washington quarter stand out? Let's start with the basics. 1982 was a year of significant change and growth in the United States, economically and politically. This was a time of high inflation, interest rate hikes, and a transition to the Ronald Reagan era. But it wasn't just the country that was evolving. Coin collectors and enthusiasts began to notice something interesting about the 1982 Washington quarter that set it apart from earlier issues of the coin. In terms of production, 1982 wasn't an unusually rare year. The U.S. Mint produced a massive number of these quarters, meaning they circulated widely throughout the country. Most of the 1982 Washington quarters you'll find are not in the best condition, many have been used in countless transactions, are worn down, or may have lost their sharp details. This is where things get interesting. What makes the 1982 Washington quarter truly stand out for collectors are the rare errors that occasionally pop up, making them worth much more than their face value. When it comes to coin collecting, errors are a collector's dream, and the 1982 Washington quarter is no exception. These minting errors can cause a single coin to be worth thousands of dollars, and some even rise to become truly legendary finds. One of the most fascinating errors in the 1982 Washington quarter is the double die. For those of you unfamiliar with the term, a double die is a minting error that occurs when the design of the coin is struck multiple times, resulting in a visible doubling effect on certain features. In the case of the 1982 Washington quarter, you'll most likely notice the doubling on the inscription, Liberty, or, In God We Trust. This error creates a shadowed effect that gives the letters a second impression, making the coin far more distinctive. A double die error can make a coin far rarer and significantly more valuable, especially when the doubling is prominent and easy to spot. Another error that can turn an otherwise ordinary 1982 Washington quarter into a prized collectible is the off-center strike. This error occurs when the blank metal planchet is misaligned during the minting process, causing part of the coin's design to be cut off or shifted to the side. Off-center strikes are highly sought after because they create an entirely unique look for the coin. The more off-center the design, the more valuable the coin becomes. If you find a 1982 Washington quarter with a significant off-center strike, it could very well be worth a substantial amount of money. In addition to these errors, another factor that makes the 1982 Washington quarter so intriguing is its low mintage variety. Although millions of quarters were minted in 1982, only a select few were released in pristine, uncirculated condition. For coin collectors, the uncirculated 1982 Washington quarters are like finding hidden treasure, especially when they are paired with minting errors. If you happen to come across a perfectly preserved coin with no wear or marks, you could be looking at a coin that could increase in value as it becomes rarer with time. Now, let's get to the most exciting part of the video, the price. You might be wondering, how much can a 1982 Washington quarter really be worth? Well, if you have a coin in excellent condition or one with a minting error like a double die or an off-center strike, your 1982 Washington quarter could be worth a staggering $68,000. That's right, $68,000 for a single quarter, far beyond the quarter's face value. The rarity of these errors, combined with the condition of the coin, can result in a substantial windfall for collectors lucky enough to find one. So, next time you come across a 1982 Washington quarter, take a closer look. Is there a double die error on the lettering? Is there an off-center strike that makes the design look unusual? These little details could turn an otherwise ordinary coin into a fortune. You never know what treasures might be hiding in your collection, and the 1982 Washington quarter is a perfect example of how patience and attention to detail can pay off in the world of coin collecting. Before we wrap up, a quick word of advice to all you collectors out there: if you're lucky enough to come across a 1982 Washington quarter that seems a bit off, don't dismiss it right away. Take the time to carefully inspect the coin for any minting errors. You might just discover a rare gem that could become a highly valuable addition to your collection. If you enjoyed this video and want to stay updated on more coin-related discoveries, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. You won't want to miss out on any future rare finds or tips on how to grow your coin collection. Thanks for watching, and happy coin hunting.